Hi guys, hope you're doing good. Welcome back to the Watch Design Academy YouTube channel. So today we have a very interesting topic that I'd like to talk about, and that is how I actually became a watch designer myself and how I actually learned and acquired all the skills to actually be in the position to be a watch designer, if that makes sense. I think a lot of you guys will actually find it interesting. Today's topic is not really about advices and tips and tricks on watch brands, how to design. I just want to share my experience and how I actually became a big part of the watch industry, especially in the micro brand niche. So without further ado, let me get back into my office and I'll talk to you guys then. So, before I can tell you actually how I became a watch designer and how I got all of my skills, firstly, I need to tell you how I actually got interested in watches. And everything started with one special watch, and I'm gonna show it to you now. Let me grab my watch box. Cannot even close my watch box. I have to get another one because I have so many watches. But let me actually show you the one that started it all. I'm not sure how well you will be able to see on camera, but this is it. This is the actual watch that started everything for me, and that is the watch that actually got me interested in watches overall. And this watch is a vintage Doxa. I'm not sure if you've heard of this brand. They still do exist today, but they produce mostly diver watches now. But this is their vintage model. It's called the Doxa Anti-Magnetic. It's something that was very popular to have in watches, anti-magnetic in vintage watches. But yeah, that's the watch that started it all. And this is the watch that my grandfather passed down to me a couple of years before he died. I know that's like the normal standard story that everyone that likes watches usually got passed down a watch. And the same thing is with me. This is what my grandpa gave me before he died, a couple of years before. So this watch is the one that started everything for me and that actually got me interested in watches in general. When I was a kid, I was 12 years old, something like that. And up until that point, I just thought all of the watches were powered by batteries. So I didn't really understand how can this watch run when you just kind of wind it up. That was very, very fascinating to me because it was very similar to cars. I was always, since I was a kid, I was always interested in cars and motorcycles and everything that was like mechanic, right? And this was just another thing that I was interested in. And that is how I actually started in the watch industry at 12 years old. And this is the watch that started it all. We'll start off in my high school. I don't know how it works in the United States, but here in Europe, in Croatia, you have high school and then you go to college. But both of the high school and college, you have to decide what you want to be immediately. So I wanted to do something with cars, be a mechanical engineer at the end. So I went to high school to become a mechanical technician, and then after I finished high school I started in university, and I went to university to become a mechanical engineer because I wanted to work in a car industry, right? And through the high school days, we did a lot of work and exercises in CAD/CAM softwares, in CATIA, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, and I already had a pretty good knowledge in those softwares and how to actually model things. And yeah, that was a pretty good background to actually become a watch designer later on. After I finished high school, I enrolled in college, in the university, to become a mechanical engineer, right? But I realized at that point in time that to actually finish the university and become a mechanical engineer, it would take me 5 years, and 5 years only if I pass all the tests and all the exams from the first try, if that makes sense, right? And I knew that I wasn't really good at math, and to become a mechanical engineer, you really did have to know math. And I already knew that I was too stupid and too lazy to actually finish that college. And it was a little bit hard time for me because I had a girlfriend that I was always fighting with at the time. And I moved across the country into a completely different city with that girlfriend. And at the same time, my parents were breaking up and getting a divorce. So everything was kind of messed up in my life at the time. And I was a little bit depressed. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not proud of that, but I was a little bit depressed because of everything, because I really didn't want to spend 5, 6, 7 years of my life to actually become a mechanical engineer and finally start making money. Because my complete goal was to be free, to not listen to anybody really, And through that first college experience, I realized that I'm just not going to, that there must be another path for me to actually become financially free, because up until that point, my mom was paying for all my tuition, all my college and living expenses, because I didn't speak to my father at the time. So yeah, everything was kind of fucked up, should I say, right? But yeah, basically, as I was depressed, I didn't even go to college anymore. I just stopped attending classes. And the only thing that I was doing, instead of wasting time in my depression, all I was doing is designing watches for fun at home on my personal computer, right? I was just drawing watches and sketching them out, doing the 3D, making the 3D models, trying to do some renderings to actually make a good looking watch. And that was the only thing that fulfilled me at that point in time. So you could kind of say that watches like saved me from depression. But yeah, I don't like those topics because they are not happy and positive. And I'm a very positive guy in general, so I don't really like to talk about these things. But I thought you might find it interesting. And then I actually broke up with my girlfriend, and at the same time I dropped out of college. I moved back into my mom's house. Everything was kind of like starting from scratch once again, like I just left high school. So I couldn't, in that first college, in that university, I was maybe like 2-3 months, and then I dropped out. So I couldn't spend the rest of the years not doing anything. And all I was doing is still designing watches in my free time. And I got my first job in a local bakery working night shifts, which was the most bullshit job and most awful job I ever had. And I was working there for 3 months. And it was very, very hard. And congrats to all the bakers that actually provide us with bread and food and everything, because it's a very difficult and a very hard job. But yeah, I didn't like working there at all, and the boss in the bakery was kind of an asshole as well and treated me very badly. But I understand completely. I was like some little kid that had big dreams, and I dropped out of university. And in Croatia, it's a very conservative and very traditional view that you have to go to college, otherwise you are not going to become anybody anyways. So yeah, they were kind of treating me in that specific way. But as I was designing watches for fun, I actually started posting them on Instagram. I don't have that Instagram anymore, unfortunately, because it got hacked. But otherwise, I would show it to you guys. I'm actually going to try and find some drawings and some of the first designs that I created and post it in this video. But yeah, I just kept on posting my drawings that I made by hand, posting the 3D models, videos of the 3D models that I made, just basically trying to make my own designs for fun. I didn't think I would make money from that. As I grew my Instagram page, at the same time, I got another job, which was delivering truck tires. It was also a shit job, but not as bad as the first one in the bakery. But at the same time, again, I was designing watches for fun. And as my Instagram page actually grew, I got the first message that actually changed everything. And it was from a follower of mine that actually wanted me to design a watch for him because he saw that my work was very good. And I really didn't know what to charge him. I'm actually gonna try and find those first watches that I've designed, and I remember the name of the brand. It was Colt Los Angeles. I'm gonna try and find pictures and post it here. It was a very shit and a very bad design that I created, but yeah, it was a starting point for me. And that first client ordered the first watch, and I made $150 for that first design. Then he ordered 3 more watches, which I designed all of them, and each and every one of them was $150. And for all of those 4 designs, it took me about 2 months to complete, right? Because he was the only client. And at the same time, I was actually preparing to go to another university for mechanical engineering, but that was closer to my hometown, so I didn't have to travel very far to a completely different city. So I could actually be closer with my mom and actually help out at home and still design watches. So it was a very difficult time to balance everything, but most of the focus just went to actual watches than doing anything else. But then later on, after I finished all of those 4 watches, I actually first time in my life heard of the page or a website called Fiverr. And Fiverr is basically a freelancing website where you can post your services or hire freelancers for anything else. And that's where I actually created my first Fiverr profile. And I didn't get any orders immediately on Fiverr or any gigs. And this client from Instagram didn't order any more watches. So I was kind of like, I didn't make any money again. And I stopped making money, and then I just thought, okay, let me go back to university and try engineering one more time in this university that's actually closer to me. And yeah, I signed up. But then what happened was, like 8 months into going into university, I never stopped posting work on Instagram. I never stopped updating my Fiverr page. So those were like two big components that I never stopped doing in my free time, because that was something I actually enjoyed personally in my free time. And that got me my first order on Fiverr during the second time I was going to university. So it was like 8 months in the university in the first year. I got the first order, it was 20 bucks or something, but I finished it. I got another one, which was 100 bucks. Then it was 150 bucks, 200, 300. And that was a very big turning point for me, because that was in 2019, keep in mind. And at that time here in Croatia, like the base salary was 800 euros a month, right? And in the second month of actually, like I could say, running business and getting orders on Fiverr, I made 1,500 bucks. So that was an even bigger paycheck that I would have as an engineering job here in Croatia at that time. So my mind was completely blown that I was actually able to go to college, and from the business that I started at home, which was not fully an operational business, didn't have a website or anything, that I was actually able to make double the standard salary here in Croatia, working at it part-time when I had some free time at home when I was not studying or attending college. So it was very weird. And at that time, I was like kind of presented two different paths. Either just focus on college, because if you focus on business, you're not going to finish college, or focus on business and just leave college once again. And that was probably the hardest choice in my life that I had to make up until then. Because if I leave the college for the second time, everybody's going to make fun of me, and everybody's going to think that I'm never going to become something. And it was very hard for me to deal with the first time when I left college. But I didn't care, and I dropped out of college for the second time, and I just pursued watch design. That is how I actually became a watch designer. And as I dropped out of college, all my focus went onto watch designing. I was designing all day, every day, working on clients that I got from Fiverr and some other clients that came from Instagram, or if somebody recommended me, that's how I got all my clients. And I just designed all day, every day, and all the work that I made that I could, I actually posted on Instagram and grown my page there. And then I actually started watchdesignstudio.com. That's when I actually made my first website. So that is how Watch Design Studio actually became alive, I would say. And since then, I'm focusing on watch design, and that's how I actually became a watch designer. I already had a pretty good knowledge of engineering and everything else, because that was all I was interested in, and watches were just kind of my very big passion, and I combined everything together. And through all of the projects, through all of the experience I gained working on those projects, I just became a very good watch designer. And that is how I started my watch design business. And that is my story, guys. So I know it's a very long video and it's just me talking, but I just wanted to share my experience and how I actually started in the industry. I have some more interesting stories of how I actually started my own watch brand and failed, but yeah, that is for another video. Hope you guys like this one. It's just something personal that I wanted to share with anybody that has subscribed to the channel or anybody that's going to be watching those videos. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and ciao.